The first sound Lucian heard was wind cutting through wooden slats. Cold, persistent, almost alive. He lay in a small cradle carved from dark timber, staring upward at a ceiling that creaked with every gust outside. The scent of oil, herbs, and distant smoke filled the room, nothing like the sterile air of Tokyo he could still vaguely remember, though that memory already felt distant, like a story he had once read rather than lived. A woman's voice spoke softly nearby, not to him but about him. Quiet, he finally stopped crying. Another voice answered with a tired sigh. Third son of the Eiselwald line, at least he's healthy. Eiselwald. The name settled in his mind, without meaning yet. Lucian blinked slowly, testing the limits of his new body. Small hands, weak muscles, a heartbeat far faster than it should be. He tried to move his fingers deliberately as if testing a tool. The result was immediate frustration. No precision, no control, just instinct. He stopped moving and observed instead. Observation was always the first step. Days passed in fragmented impressions. Warm hands lifting him, cold nights wrapped in thick cloth, candlelight flickering against stone walls, voices shifting between calm and tense, the rhythm of a household constantly aware of something beyond its walls. Outside, he sometimes heard distant bells. Not peaceful bells, alarm bells. He learned quickly that silence here did not mean safety. The Eisenwald estate revealed itself slowly, like a structure emerging from fog. Stone walls reinforced with timber beams, narrow windows designed more for defense than comfort. Guards moving in pairs along corridors, their armor worn rather than polished. Servants speaking in hushed tones, always efficient, never relaxed. This was not a palace. It was a fortress pretending to be a home, and beyond it lay the frontier. Lucian saw it for the first time when he was carried outside during midday sunlight. Beyond the estate gates stretched land that looked half-tamed and half-abandoned. Fields of uneven soil, patches of scorched earth, and forests that grew too close to roads as if testing how far they could advance. In the distance, mountains cut through the sky like broken blades. Something about them felt wrong. Not visually, structurally, as if the land itself had been shaped by forces that did not follow natural order. He watched silently from the servant's arms. A knight passed by on horseback, armor scratched and dull. Blood stains darkened the edge of his cloak. No one reacted to it. This was normal here. That realization settled deeper than fear. Time moved differently in this world. Years compressed into fragments of sensation. Lucian grew, slowly at first, then with awareness. He learned the shape of his body like an engineer learning a new instrument. Strength was limited, coordination unreliable, speech delayed. Every action required patience he did not naturally possess. But observation compensated. Always observation. The frontier taught him things no book could. Caravans arriving with damaged wagons and exhausted guards. Villagers speaking about night beasts that moved too quickly to track. Hunters returning with empty hands and frightened eyes. And always the same pattern beneath it all. Something lived in the forests, and it did not behave like ordinary animals. One evening, he watched a patrol return late. Only half of them came back. No explanation was given in public, but Lucian noticed the missing weapons. Not lost, broken deliberately. That detail stayed with him longer than the silence that followed. By the age when most children struggled with letters, Lucian was already reading. Not because he was taught properly, but because he watched long enough. The estate library was small, more like an archive room than a scholarly collection. Most books were worn military reports, tax records, and old strategic documents. He did not read stories. He read systems. Maps first, then supply logs, then injury reports. Patterns began to form. Monster activity was not random. It followed seasonal shifts. Forest expansion correlated with mining disruption. Attacks increased near trade routes with weaker patrol frequency. The frontier was not simply under attack. It was being tested. Something in this world adapted. He did not know what yet, but he understood the principle. If something reacts consistently, it can be predicted. And if it can be predicted, it can be controlled. His family remained distant figures at first. His father, Baron Aldrich von Eisenwald, appeared rarely. When he did, the air in the room changed. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Even armored knights straightened instinctively. A man shaped by exhaustion and command. His eldest brother, Cedric, was different. Loud footsteps, constant training, hands always marked by weapons. He treated the world like something that had to be endured through strength alone. The second brother, Leonhardt, was the opposite. refined, disciplined, always preparing for something beyond the estate. No one expected anything from the third son. That suited Lucian perfectly. Expectation created attention. Attention created vulnerability. So he remained quiet and observed. At the edge of the estate, there was an old workshop. It had once been used for repairing siege equipment, but had fallen into disuse after newer defensive priorities shifted resources elsewhere. To everyone else, it was abandoned. To Lucian, it was opportunity. He began visiting it in silence, at first only to watch, then to touch, then to experiment. He studied materials left behind: iron rods, cracked wooden frames, broken mechanical triggers from outdated defensive devices. Nothing in this world was refined for precision engineering. Everything was built for survival, not optimization. That distinction fascinated him. One night, he found a crate of mineral fragments collected from nearby caves. Some of them reacted strangely near fire, not burning, responding. He tested carefully using small controlled heat sources. The reaction was inconsistent at first, violent bursts of light followed by collapse. Unstable, dangerous, but predictable under specific conditions. He began documenting patterns using charcoal marks on scrap wood, temperature thresholds, pressure sensitivity, material combinations. For the first time since arriving in this world, something felt familiar. Not comfort, control. The first real failure came without warning. A small reaction chamber he had built from reinforced metal tubing overheated during a test. The explosion was sharp, contained, but powerful enough to blow him backward into a wooden support beam. Smoke filled the workshop. Lucian did not move for several seconds. Pain registered late. A bruise forming across his arm burned air in his lungs. He slowly sat up, then looked at the broken device. Not disappointment, assessment. The containment failed at pressure variance, not material weakness. That meant the concept was valid, just not refined. He exhaled slowly and began planning the next iteration. Days later, the territory changed without warning. A distant horn sounded across the frontier. Not training, not practice, real alarmed. Lucian stood at the edge of the estate courtyard as riders rushed toward the gates. His father had already left. Cedric followed within minutes, armor half-fastened, sword secured with practiced urgency. Something had crossed the forest boundary, something large enough to require full mobilization. Lucian watched them disappear into the distance. For the first time, he noticed something deeper than curiosity forming in his mind. A question that did not belong to a child. If the frontier was constantly under attack, why were its defenses still reactive? Why no system of warning? Why no structured response? Why no network of preparation? The wind moved through the courtyard, carrying distant echoes of horns and movement beyond the trees. Lucian turned slowly toward the abandoned workshop and walked back inside, not as a child exploring, but as someone beginning to design.